This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices nudged higher on Monday, recovering from sharp falls last week, after Washington pledged to launch further strikes on Iran-backed groups in the Middle East and as Ukrainian drones struck southern Russia's largest refinery. Brent crude futures rose 36 cents, or 0.5%, to $77.69 a barrel by 0511 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures were at $72.53 a barrel, up 25 cents, or 0.4%. Both benchmarks ended last week down about 7%. They fell 2% on Friday after stronger than expected U.S. jobs data suggested interest rate cuts could be further out than expected, and on progress in ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas.
The European Commission will not add any new import bans in its next package of sanctions on Russia, EU diplomats said, as a 13th package proposal takes its final shape. The Commission and European Union member states want to quickly pass a new set of measures to mark the second anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24. Despite calls from some EU countries to ban more Russian exports like aluminium, the Commission will propose a package it hopes will cause minimal debate among member states so it is passed quickly. Member states need to vote unanimously to adopt new sanctions.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
India raised its windfall tax on petroleum crude to 3,200 rupees tonne from 1,700 rupees from Saturday while keeping the windfall tax on diesel and aviation turbine fuel at zero, the government said late on Friday. On January 16, the government cut windfall tax on petroleum crude from 2,300 rupees a tonne. From July 2022, India imposed a windfall tax on crude oil producers and extended the levy on exports of gasoline, diesel and aviation fuel as private refiners wanted to sell fuel overseas to make gains from robust refining margins instead of selling locally. It revises the tax every 2 weeks.
U.S. manufacturers are nearing the end of an unusually prolonged but shallow slowdown in the business cycle which should start to boost energy consumption later in 2024. The Institute for Supply Management, ISM's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index increased to 49.1, 25th percentile for all months since 1980, in January up from 47.1, 16th percentile, in December. Index readings have been progressively increasing from a low of 46.0, 11th percentile, in June 2023 and this month's was the highest since October 2022, indicating the sector is poised to resume expansion. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Gold prices fell on Monday, as the U.S. dollar and Treasury yields surged after a robust jobs report crushed expectations of near-term interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. Spot gold was down 0.5% at $2,029.03 per ounce by 0556 GMT. U.S. gold futures fell 0.4% to $2,045.50 per ounce. Large speculators and managed funds trimmed long exposure to gold futures for a fourth week. And with Jerome Powell reiterating 3 rate cuts for the year, it remains debatable as to whether gold can rally from here, said Matt Simpson, a senior analyst at Citi Index.
Prices of base metals opened this week lower because of a stronger US dollar and on expectations that subdued demand will outweigh tight supply this year. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange lost 0.3% to $8,457 per metric ton by 0252 GMT, having shed 0.7% in the previous week. The most traded March copper contract on the Shanghai Futures Exchange slid 0.4% to 68,530 yuan, $9,522.02 per ton. Copper, often used as an economic bellwether, lost on the U.S. Federal Reserve's remarks last week that pushed back on the idea of an interest rate cut as early as March.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan will discuss a new mechanism to allow Ukrainian grain exports through the Black Sea with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin during his upcoming visit to Turkey, Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said on Sunday. Putin is expected to visit Turkey on February 12 to meet Erdogan, a Turkish official previously said, in what will be the Russian leader's first trip to a NATO ally since Moscow's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. There are efforts to find new methods to transport Ukrainian grain to the world markets, Fidan said in an interview with private A Harbour Television.
That is all for today's news on commodity market. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.